But right now, Patricia Rozema, the pride of Sarnia, Ontario, is here with me in studio.
Prides of Sarnia.
Two prides
That
of
doesn't
Sarnia.
happen.
That doesn't happen very often, the two prides of Sarnia, Ontario together in a room. Hello, Patricia.
Hi, Rachel. How are you?
Good. It's so nice to have you.
Thank you.
Why did you and the director, Barry Avrich, want to focus specifically on female actors for this?
Well, it was Barry's idea, and I came to it. And I hemmed and hawed because I admire what you do. I really do. I know that interviewing is a real art, and I don't claim to, know that. I worked years ago as a producer on the Journal, and I used to sort of prep Barbara Frum for interviews, and she would teach me things, and she'd say, just wait, give them a void and they'll fill it. Or she'd actually tell me about the order of questions, and there was a complete science that I didn't claim to have, and I got out of it into fiction quickly. So I don't really know what I'm doing, but I thought I was attracted to just conversations with people in the biz, and not when they're doing the dog and pony show and selling, but when they're just chatting with another. So I try to disarm them by not being organized. Maybe that was it. But why women? That was presented to me. I'd love to interview men too. But women who act, I proposed that title, and Barry liked it. But because it gives them agency. They are people. These women, especially, these are of incredible caliber of actors. And they choose their roles. They design their careers to some extent at this point. So,
and is that unusual? I mean, when you say that they have agency and they choose their roles, is that unusual?
There's a handful of actors that can do that,
Who have the kind of clout and power, or
who have the clout and power, who every time they come out onto the screen that they're just so magnetic and so convincing, and that people rush to them and give them more. So each one of these has been that right from the beginning.
Well, and it's interesting your perspective as a director, because of course you're the person making choices, and when it comes to casting and sort of having the actors sort of live out the vision that you would have for a film. Did you learn something from talking to these actors? And I think you prefer the term actor as opposed to actresses, yeah?
Well, I flip back and forth, but I've decided to sort of lean towards actor because I don't want to be a directoress or a directorette.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I'm not that. I don't want to be defined by my professional life to be defined by my gender. Yeah. It is already, right. But I'm kind of calling them actors now. But did I learn something? Oh yeah, I think actors have much to teach us. Actually, I think they are. It's sort of mysterious and magical what they do, which is why I really was drawn to this. I know two of them, I worked with two of them, and the other two I'd love to work with. But they're, it's interesting. I was reading the transcript of the show. I can't really watch myself, so that I just read it.
It was really great.
It was.
It really was. I'm not just saying that. It was really great.
You can just say that.
That's I will just say that.
No, they, I thought, well, they're very, very different. That was part of the excitement. And there's, no one road to Mecca was the original thought. But then actually reading it, I thought, actually, there are some common qualities they have that we can all learn from. They all have a huge capacity to work. They're workers. They want to do more takes. They prepare. They're workers, and a giant capacity to play. They'll just let go. Tatiana and her improv, and Andrea Martin just loves when she can improv, and Ellen too. They're all funny. They're all capable, but they also value openness and speak about openness as a muscle that's developed. And I thought that was interesting because people usually think of actors as donning other characters, but in fact, what they are is just so dangerously open, and they need trust. Like when I'm directing actors, that's everything I do is I surround them with love and trust. I never say, no, we're please. And then, and ask them to do something else because they would shut down. So they're just like, this, they're highly evolved empathy people, right?
Right.
So they have these special skills that I really think that we can all learn from.
And it's interesting that idea that you talk about, sort of the importance of openness, and yet I think the celebrity side of acting, for men too, but I think in particularly for women, where there's also such tremendous judgment about aging, about body, about all of those things, and how to remain open at the same time that so much of the value of an actor, particularly female actors, is of
That's a
how they
torture.
look.
That's a torture. Every day that goes by, their market value slides down. It's just I couldn't do. That you can prop me up in a stretcher, and if I could, if I still make work, I'm a monster. But I still make work that people find compelling. Somehow, then I can keep working. They can't. So there's this crazy urgency that they have to let go and be entirely present when they're shooting. Yeah, I really feel for them that struggle with celebrity, and I think that celebrity has nothing to do with good acting, and in fact it gets in the way. They start to be, there's this tendency to parody themselves. They hear, oh, I'm good at the angry mode, or oh, I'm good at the innocent babe mode, or I'm good at the whatever, and then they start reacting to that. I know that lots of good ones don't read what's written, and they don't watch themselves.
Yeah.
They just try to stay people. Ellen couldn't watch any. She was producing on Into the Forest that we just made together, and she couldn't watch herself.
Yeah.
So, there was a huge amount of trust that she had to hand over to somebody else.
And it's interesting in this because, Ellen Page, I think, is sort of most pointed in talking about the kind of choices of roles she wants to take, and about wanting to be in films where there are strong female characters, and the fact that there just aren't as many roles for women, period. Not just good roles, but just roles, period.
I think she quoted that there's 17% of protagonists in movies are women. Protagonists, people who have agency, who do something, who decide something, or who aren't just the reward or the sidekick or the, it's a desert out there for women for really beautiful roles. So, although I would happily direct movies with male leads, I just feel like, well, someone's got to start redressing this horrible imbalance. So, and I feel like I would know female characters, but yeah, it's not a just, system. And I get these, what are they called? Open directing assignment sheets from my agency, which is CAA. So it's just Hollywood studio stuff. And you have a whole list of all the films that studios want to make but don't have a director yet. And I never go out for these usually, but they're just interesting to read. And it's always, they start with a guy discovers, an alien. A guy is satisfied with his health. A young man, an old guy, and then maybe one will be a woman, but it's just pages and pages and pages of a guy does X. Yeah. So, no, it's not good. Women got to get behind the camera. Women got to write and get behind the camera. All of you out there listening, do it.
Well, and again, that question of that point about agency, I mean, it's interesting because Andrea Martin talks about the fact that she just knows she's a character actress in a character actor in many roles. So she has a funny line where, she's like, I'm not going to be the woman in bed with Ryan Gosling. I'm going to be the maid that comes in that cracks the joke. And so
crawls on her hands and knees.
Crawls on her hands and knees.
Yeah, she's funny.
Yeah, and so embraces sort of that humor and that bigness. Tatiana Maslany says, I just care about the characters. I don't big, small, I'll take whatever roles speak to me. And she's had a tremendous career on television, which seems to be, and well, you've worked in television too, and it seems like that might be a place where women seem to have more opportunities, or am I wrong in thinking that's the case?
Yes, apparently there are more roles for women in television, but I don't make a big distinction. I just call it all filmed fiction. It's what size screen it goes out on, I don't care. What comes, I personally tend to like an evening's entertainment and thought and emotion in one thing, but I, watch the series like everyone else. Whether there are more good roles for women, yes, I think there are some theories out there that there are more female writers and producers, and television is traditionally guided by women viewers because they buy for the household.
So it's the commercials.
So it's the commercials.
Right.
But now that's all shifting because commercials aren't necessarily how people, people don't ingest the commercials when they're watching their PVR shows. So, yeah, it's going to be a while. It's going to be incremental. It's going to be slow. But I have this feeling like there's this new appreciation for androgyny in our culture.
How so?
Well, I think that the greatest artists throughout time have been quite androgynous, psychologically at least. The Bergmans and the Cassavetes, and there's a kind of the real artists can actually invest in a woman as much as they can in a man, and they're not just kind of replicating themselves on screen or on stage or wherever. So I just have this feeling like transgender and issues are kind of the forefront of social justice issues in the West. And I think that's because we are starting to understand that there's a middle range between male and female that is healthy and a happy place to inhabit, that the world where women and men are vastly different and their characteristics are strikingly different is not necessarily just or the only way to be.
Yeah.
So I just feel like there's a kind of a new state of being that's being celebrated in the world, and that may help women to direct more and more female characters to be up on stage, up on the screen.
It's interesting. We did the post-Oscar panels, and I was thinking again about this funny thing of having Best Actor, Best Actress, and the idea that that you categorize like that. Given that, why couldn't you just say the best person who acted in this kind of role this year?
Yeah,
it's a funny kind of breakdown to sort of to have the categories run that way.
But even the awards are silly. I mean, it's like, okay, let's put this orange up there, and then an airplane, and then a group of trees, and then a cri de coeur, and it's like, okay, who wins? Oh, you win! It's like nuts. It's a celebration that needs conflict. Like every good scene in drama needs conflict to be alive. So it's a celebration that needs conflict, which is the competition to be sparky. So it's pretend, and if it's like I treat awards like the weather. You know, it shines, it rains, whatever.
Yeah, I want to talk to you a little bit about directing. Selma director Ava Duvernay recently said that women making film is a radical act. Do you agree with that statement? It's a radical act to be a director, to be a creator in this world?
I would agree with it. I never felt that radical myself. I think I was just oblivious. I just grew up feeling like I could do whatever I wanted, and that's thanks to my parents. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of thought, okay, people are going to talk, don't worry. Wouldn't it be great to spend your life making things and making them more and better? So yes, it's a radical act because we're a minority. So any minority taking a public voice is a radical act. So yes, I think she's entirely right. And I'm so happy she's out there.
It's interesting because you said, you were sort of oblivious. I also think that you were incredibly confident in having a vision and wanting to enact it and trusting that you had something that you wanted to say and people would listen.
Right.
Where did that confidence come from?
I didn't think they would listen.
But you did it anyway.
I did it anyway. I just wanted to see it.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually quite common with like these, bring it back to the subject of this, was these actors. I still stumble whether actor, actress, but that, they just want to do it when they're quite young. All of them started very young wanting to do this thing. It's almost like a virus you catch, I definitely wanted to make a movie, but I thought, I'd probably be showing it to my friends in the basement, and and then suddenly it's invited to Cannes, and the whole world's watching and listening, and it's shocking, and I can call myself a filmmaker and make a living doing it. It was like that was a delightful surprise, but it's certainly I had no dreams of fame and glory at the time of wanting to do it, and I think that's actually the healthiest way to do it. People are all caught up in the red carpet or those are that's byproduct. It's a sideshow. It's a sideshow. It's like I once heard this metaphor of it's like a balloon of yourself that you walk along. I don't have, my balloon's very small, but Ellen Page has a giant balloon of Ellen Page that she carries, and it looks pretty much like her. And everybody's looking, going, "Oh, there's Ellen Page," but the real person is down below, who's just walking along. She can't control what pot shots are taken at that balloon.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you have to stop being self-conscious about it, or just have to kind of accept
that's the hard thing, and that's what the actors are so good at too. Is the young ones especially. I think that's why we prize their youth to some extent on screen, because they aren't self-conscious at all, and they'll just. It is so moving to me what actors dare to do.
Yeah.
But their openness, the rage they'll show, the fear they'll show, the humor, the absurdity. They'll allow themselves to be so ridiculed. It's like, I can't do it. Are you kidding?
That's why you're behind the camera.
I'm not getting up there. I can't do that. Yeah.
It was so great to have you come in and talk today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to see an interview done well.
Oh, thank you very much. We'll talk more after. We'll talk more after. Canadian filmmaker Patricia Rozema, she hosts the documentary Women Who Act with Patricia Rozema, which premieres tomorrow, Saturday, February 28th at 9 p.m. on HBO Canada.